Okay, everybody, welcome to Kids Paint Night. This week we are painting a pumpkin. Now, I forgot to put the blue paint in your bag, so you either have a blue attached to the outside of your bag, or if you already picked up your bag before I got it attached, I will have blue paint available. If you could just give me a call and I will make sure I bring it upstairs to the curbside pickup for you. If you already have blue paint at home, you can use that. But I also had black on the list and you don't need black, so don't worry about that. You didn't get that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to paint the pumpkin. So this is what it's going to look like. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to use a round brush, and I am going to take lots of white, clumps of white here, like that, and then a little bit of the brown. There's two different browns that you have. I am going to use a little bit of this light brown and a little bit of yellow. Okay. I'm gonna mix it up, see what we've got, see if I need to add some of the anything else. All right, I am gonna add a little bit more brown. Everybody's color is going to be different. It's fine. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the outline of our pumpkin with our paintbrush. So it should be down at the corner, and I'm going to start from like the top middle and then come around. You can always adjust it afterward. And sort of like that, but this doesn't come out far enough here yet. And there we go. That's a little better. Okay, so now I am going to paint in the entire pumpkin, and I'm going to paint it in kind of the direction of the pumpkin. Going to actually switch to a flat brush. The medium-sized flat brush, I think will do a little bit better of a job. So kind of paint the direction that the pumpkin goes. So your pumpkin's supposed to be on an angle, and it's supposed to be down in this corner. You could also, like my first one, kind of ran off the edge of the end of the canvas, which was worked out fine too. So kind of just paint the direction of the pumpkin. Try not to paint it too heavy. And as you're going along, you could always fix up the shape of them if you don't quite like it. He's not shaped to your liking. It's a good time to do it is now before you get too far. I'm going to actually turn it a little bit so I can reach it better. Maybe my hand won't be in the way. Obviously, this is not your regular standard orange pumpkin. You didn't want to go with just your common pumpkin this year. Okay. All right. Now that your pumpkin is painted in, we are going to paint the background of your canvas blue. If you want to do your background color a different color, go right ahead. It's up to you. If you have plenty of yellow and green and you didn't get the blue, you could make your own blue. No, you can't, sorry. I was doing the opposite. But if you want a different color background, feel free. All right, so I'm going to take my blue. Now you're going to be real careful when you go around the pumpkin because obviously it's not dry. I would recommend you waiting till it's dry. So you might want to pause for a while. I am going to outline it first and then fill in around it because I think that for me will be easier. So all right, I'm going to turn this to make it easier also to get it going around. Try to keep your paint as thin as you can. Especially because we have to put on our flowers and our greenery, and we don't want it to all blend together. Okay, turn it around some more so I can get to it better. All right, turn it again. If you go over the pumpkin a little bit, it's okay because the blue is darker than the pumpkin, so you won't even notice it. Just as long as you got a nice smooth line around it. Okay, so then go ahead and finish the rest of the blue background. Try to hurry up and do this. It's not going to be the neatest, but I'm just trying to hurry up so I can go on to the next step. You want to be neater than this. I'm just trying to hurry so we could move on. And it doesn't really matter with this background which direction you paint. Just do whatever you think looks good to you. Okay. Okay. That'll be good enough. Okay, so now that we have our pumpkin all ready and hopefully it is drying, what you're gonna do is I am going to take the brown. I gave you 2 different shades of brown, so you could kind of play around with the colors to see which one you want to use. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lighter one, and I'm going to put it on my plate, and I'm going to take a little bit of the darker one and kind of mix it together kind of loosely. All right, now your blue, you're going to wait till it's dry because we're going to outline the pumpkin. So mine is not going to come out very good because it's going to run together. But you want to outline the pumpkin with the brown. So it shows up better. And I'm going to try to keep the blue off my brush and keep wiping it off just in case. Since you're going to wait for yours to dry, yours will be fine. See, I got a lot of blue in it that time. Okay. So you want to outline your pumpkin in the brown and not get blue in it like me. I just find that it's easier to turn the canvas to be able to reach it better, but you do whatever is the easiest way for you. Okay, so now that it's outlined, we also have to do the lines inside the pumpkin as well. See, we have to do these lines here. So take your brown. You can kind of glance at it to see where you want to put them, but you want to start from the middle and curve around like the shape of the pumpkin. So always start at the middle where the stem would be and then curve it towards the direction of the pumpkin. So that one you're going to curve that way, and then when you move over to this side, you're going to curve the other way, like that. And then one more, like that, okay? And now you could take your brown, oops, and if this is dry on yours, paint a stem. Mine is going to get the brown and the blue mixed together. And it's up to you which brown. You might want to stick with it a little bit darker in the stem area. So kind of make your stem like that. It's up to you how big you want to put it. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some highlights to the pumpkin. So the color that we already had made for the background, we're going to kind of change that, and we're going to add, we can add a little bit more brown to it. Like I'm going to take this and this and mix it together and kind of come up with a different color. Add more of this. So we need some accents on our pumpkin because we don't want it all solid one color. So I'm going to kind of brush it on a little bit, kind of like that. Depends on what kind of brush you have and how it's going to come out. But we don't want to put a big glob of paint on our brush. We want it kind of the very dry brush, so it doesn't leave a big solid line. It's kind of more just an accent. We're just adding highlights to our pumpkin. Okay, and then we could also take that, let me clean my brush real good. And we could take some white. And now I'm going to add a little bit of this only to the white, because I want to make a lighter color. And it's just basically playing around with it to see what colors you come up with. Everybody's are going to be different. They don't all have to be the same. But you can also add some light highlights this direction now, kind of come downward. Oops, I got a little blue in there. Ignore that. Okay. You just kind of want to go over your pumpkin and kind of blend your colors together to make it look more natural. Do some light, you could add a little, see a little bit of the dark got on there, and that looked good too. The blue, not as much, but it's okay. So you kind of, from the bottom you went upward, and then from the top you kind of go downward to get the highlights in there. And see, it picked up some of the brown from the side because it wasn't dry, but that looks good too. All right, now you can kind of take a combination of the both of them. You can even take a little bit of this in here too, and kind of go a little bit even more, blending them together. So you just kind of play around with it till you get colors that you like. Every time you do it, it's going to come out different. So even if you try to replicate what you did the first time, it's going to come out different. So just because you want the different colors in there. All right. Now, if you went over your brown lines and they kind of disappeared a little bit, you could always just go back over them, put them back a little bit. And just put them back in. You can also take your browns, and if your blue is dry, you could make some vines coming out of it. Okay. Just not going to cover that part because it's too wet. All right. Make some vines coming out of it too. Up to you though. How many vines you want, how big you want them to be. All right, so just kind of work with your pumpkin, adding colors a little bit here and there. If you get too much brown and you want a little bit of the lighter colors, you can just add more of that. If it's too light, you can add a little bit more of the darker colors, just kind of blend it in. It's up to you what color your pumpkin's gonna be with the colors mixed together. Next thing we're going to do, after you wait for yours to dry, we are going to put the vines on. So there's one vine going up this way and one vine coming this way. So we're going to need green. So I'm going to take some green on my plate and a little bit of the brown, because we want to make a deeper green. Kind of like a forest green. All right, so about like that. And now, depending on how thick your brush is, this one was a little thick, but I'm going to use it anyway. You're going to start in the middle here. This is where your pink flower is going to go. That's going to join it together. And you're just going to kind of make a vine, kind of a little curvy. Now, since you're going to wait till yours dries, yours is of course going to show a better green. So kind of like that. And then same thing, upward, like that. Okay, and then you want to paint some leaves. Right down here is where the pink flower is going to go. So you just want to paint some leaves in a couple spots. It's up to you how many leaves you want. Kind of like that. Now I'm going to put one up at the top here. All right, and then down here I'm going to put a few. Going to have them hanging off the edge. Okay, and then up at the top, I'm going to put a couple like that. All right, now what you can also do with your leaves is you can add a little bit of yellow, just a little bit to kind of make them so they're not as solid. I want to make them look more natural. Let's take a little bit of yellow. You can put a little yellow on there for highlights. Okay. See, just changes your leaves a little bit. Makes them look more natural. And not solid one color. Oops. A little bit more on that one. All right, kind of like that. You can also take a little bit of yellow and add it in your stem too for a little accent. You don't want to cover it completely, but just kind of blend it in so you have some highlights on the stem. All right, now I would recommend, of course, you wait for all of this to dry before you go on to your flowers. Because otherwise you're going to have everything mixed together. Now you could do your flowers two different ways. You can just take your paint and paint them on with the pink. However, I would recommend, because our pink is very transparent, I would paint white flowers first, and then I would go back and I would paint over them with your pink. I'm going to take a little bit of pink over here, and I'm going to take some white and I'm going to blend it together to come up with a light pink. This pink is, since it is very transparent, I would always add white to it to make it not as see-through. I didn't grab the right brush I was going to use, but that's okay. My green is very, very wet. But since you're going to let yours dry, I'm going to show you how to do this. But you're going to probably get my flowers all kind of smeared together. I'm going to look for the driest spot, which I think is right here. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to make like 5 petals, and you're going to make these the bigger ones. Just press down on your brush and flatten it. and see how it spreads out, and then just kind of pull it up as you get near the middle, and it goes skinnier. So you want to do it flat and then skinny. So press it down so it comes, and then make it skinny. One more. All right, so I got 5 petals. Yours will look better because your green won't be mixed in there. I'm going to leave that one drying a little bit, and I'm going to make a couple buds coming out. So I'm just going to take some of the pink, kind of just gather it up like one petal would look. And actually, I'm going to turn this so I can get to it a little bit better over here. I'm going to put one bud up in here, like that. It's up to you how many buds you want to put around. Depends on where you have your leaves. You might have more leaves, you might have less leaves. I'm going to put one here too. So just kind of put it wide and then come out skinny. All right, and then this is very wet over here. Like I said, you can do yours in white first, do the same thing in white, and then come back and do the pink. Okay, now we're going to put a big flower right there. However, my green is really, really wet. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to cheat for a second. I'm going to wipe off some of the really wet stuff. Okay, I don't recommend you do that, but I'm doing it so I can show you guys how to paint the flowers. So take your pink, do one spread out and go closer. Spread it out and go closer. Don't worry about mixing paint in the middle because we're actually going to put another layer on anyway. So go wide and skinny. Wide and skinny. Okay, one more. Actually, I might leave that as 4. I like the way it came out. I'm going to leave this one as just 4 petals because I like the way it showed up. All right, so a second to get some of the paint off of my hands before I move on. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of a different shade of pink. So you either could go darker or you could go lighter. I am going to add some more white in with my pink. So I'm just going to kind of take it right here and mix it in. And I'm going to make a lighter pink, just like that. So now what you can do is now you can make another layer of petals, and you can also put some on your little buds, so the little buds like that. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it smaller, just kind of like that, to just kind of add some highlight of another color in there. So we're just accenting our little buds, so it's not just all one color. And then I'm going to take the real light pink, and my flowers are very wet, so my colors are really going to mix together. So I'm going to try not to, but I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to make the new petals in between the other petals. So you want a second layer of petals is what you're looking for. So go in between your other petals and add another smaller petal. This is really wet right here. It's really going to smush. Okay. Okay, so that one had 5 petals, so I added 5 more in between. And now the other one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go between the 2 petals, a little bit smaller, and I'm going to put another petal in. So this one only had the 4 to begin with. Okay, so don't worry about the very center because we're going to put a little color in there then. Okay. Yeah, it's got a lot of the green trying to come through. All right. So when your flowers are dry, what I would do next when they're dry is you're going to want to take a little bit of plain white and you can just dab it in the center for the center of your flowers, which will just kind of hide everything in the middle and join it all together. And after the white dries, I would take a little bit of yellow and do the same thing to just dab it in the middle of your flower. So it's the center. You can also dab a little on these by the buds. You can also take a little bit of white and do the same thing. Just have a little accent on there. All right, yours will look a lot better because you're going to wait for yours to dry in between these steps, but I believe that is it. Our pumpkin is finished. All right. Thanks for coming, and programming will start back up in November, so look for the flyer. I'll see you next time. Bye.